Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. Today's going to be a short show. MLB, soccer, WNBA, French Open. MLB regrets over the past decade. News and notes and best bet. We'll start with baseball, actually. We didn't have a lot of games yesterday, but we do have some more today. Phillies over the Brewers 3-1, Mets over the Nationals 8-7, O's over the Jays 7-2, Tigers over the Rangers 2-1, Astros over the Cardinals 7-4, Reds over the Rockies 13-3, Angels over the Padres 2-1, D-backs over the Giants 2. All right, 6:30, Royals Guardians, Seth Lugo, Tristan McKenzie. Let's see here. Guardians minus 120, Royals plus 102, over under 8, overs minus 118, unders minus 104, Royals minus 1.5 is plus 168, Guardians plus 1.5 is minus 205, Royals favored on the run line, Guardians favored on the run line. I'm going to take the Royals on the money line at plus 102. Dodgers Pirates, Tyler Glasnow, Jarrett Jones. Dodgers minus 188, Pirates plus 158, over under 7.5, overs minus 118, unders minus 104. Dodgers minus 1.5 is minus 103, Pirates plus 1.5 is minus 106. I'm actually going to go with the over in this game. I think the Dodgers, it's hard not to pick an over in a Dodger game unless if everybody's cold. Brewers Phillies, Colin Rea, Chris Sanchez. Phillies minus 168, Brewers plus 142, over under 8.5, overs minus 122, unders even money. Brewers plus 1.5 is minus 146, Phillies minus 1.5 is plus 122. I'm going to lay the run line with the Phillies at plus 122. Rays Marlins, Ryan Papuai and Jesus Luzardo. Rays minus 122, Marlins plus 104, over under 7.5, overs minus 105, unders minus 115. Rays minus 1.5 is plus 136, Marlins plus 1.5 is minus 104. I'm going to go with the over. 6:45 Mets Nationals, David Peterson and Trevor Williams. Mets minus 120, Nats plus 102, over under 9, overs minus 104, unders minus 118. Mets minus 1.5 is plus 132, Nats plus 1.5 is minus 160. I'm going with the Nationals on the money line this time at plus 102. I took the Mets as a dog yesterday. Today I'm going to take the Nationals as a dog. 7 o'clock on CBS, Twins, Yankees, Bailey Ober and Luis Heel. Really fun game. Yanks minus 172, Twins plus 144, over under 8, minus 172. Twins plus 1.5 is minus 150, Yanks minus 1.5 plus 125. This is a risky pick, and I'm going to go with the under. Luis Hill's been amazing this year for the Yankees, and Bailey Ober has been okay. But this is more like a Yankees cruise to a 6-1 victory kind of game. And maybe it's more like 4-1 because first game back from the West Coast trip. 7:07 O's Jays, Corbin Burns TBD. O's minus 168, Blue Jays plus 142, over under 8.5, overs even money, unders minus 122. O's minus 1.5 is minus 105, Jays plus 1.5 is minus 114. I'm going to lay it with the Orioles on the run line. Braves Red Sox, Max Fried, Cutter Crawford. Braves minus 164, Red Sox plus 138, over under 8, overs minus 118, unders minus 104. Braves minus 1.5 is minus 4, Sox plus 1.5 is minus 115. Another hard one, I'm going to go with the under. White Sox Cubs at 8. Chris Flexen and Shota Imanaga. Cubs minus 300, White Sox plus 245, over under 9, overs minus 114, unders minus 106. White Sox plus 1.5 is plus 112, Cubs minus 1.5 is minus 134. Under. I know Chris Flexen's been bad, but Imanaga's been amazing. That's a bounce back start for him. Cubs run line's fun too, but it's overvalued. Tigers Rangers. Jack Flaherty and Dane Dunning. Tigers -110, Rangers -106, over under 8, overs -105, unders -115. Tigers -1.5 is +146, Rangers +1.5 is -176. I like the over. Cardinals Astros. Andre Palante and Spencer Arguetti. Astros -148, Cards +126, over under 8.5, overs -122, unders even money. Cards +1.5 is -164, Astros -1.5 +136, Cardinals on the money line. Arguetti's been a little better, but Palante's been better. 8:30 Reds Rockies. Frankie Montas, Ty Black. Reds -144, Rockies +122, over under 10.5, overs -122, unders even money. Reds -1.5 is +106, Rockies +1.5 is -128. I'm going to lay the run line with the Reds. -1.5 +106. Although the Rockies are interesting there. Don't have the balls to do it, though. 9:30 Padres Angels. Adam Mazur and Patrick Sandoval. Angels -112, Padres -104, over under 8.5, overs -112, unders -108. Padres -1.5 is +146, Angels +1.5 is -172. Padres favored on the run line, Angels favored on the money line, but I'm going to take the Angels only because of the unknown with Mazur. Mariners A's. George Kirby, Mitch Spence. Mariners -166, A's +140, over under 7.5, overs -122, unders even money. Mariners -1.5 is even money, A's +1.5 is -120. I'm going to take the A's at +140 outright. Mitch Spence actually has been pretty decent for the A's. And last but not least, Giants Diamondbacks. Kyle Harrison and Blake Walston. D-backs won the walk-off homer last night. They're -116 favorites. The Giants -102, over under 9, overs -8, unders -12. Giants -1.5 is +52. D-backs +1.5 is -24. I don't understand why the Giants are favored on the run line. Meanwhile, Blake Walston's been pretty good. I'm going to take the Diamondbacks at -116. All right, now I'm going to move on to soccer. We'll go over the results of note from yesterday and look ahead to today's games. Of note, we do not have a lot, obviously, because a lot of things are over. We have a lot of international friendlies today, though. So, we did have friendlies yesterday, too. Scotland over Gibraltar 2-0. Croatia over North Macedonia 3-0. Albania over Liechtenstein 3-0. England over Bosnia 3-0. And Germany, Ukraine 0-0 draw. Also from yesterday, we had women's friendlies. Australia over China 2-0. Japan over New Zealand 4-1. Argentina over Costa Rica 2-0. And then FIFA World Cup qualifying, Tanzania and Syria canceled from yesterday. All right, let's start with the men's friendlies. So at noon, you have Slovenia and Armenia. For some reason, I don't see that game. Oh, there it is. Slovenia -90, Armenia +750. The draw's +340. Slovenia is obviously better. I'm going to go under 2.5 goals, -110. 215 Switzerland and Estonia. Switzerland -800, Estonia 15-1. The draw is 6-1. Over 2.5 goals, +122. 230 Romania and Bulgaria. Romania -150, Bulgaria +430, and the draw is +230. Over 2.5 goals, +106. 245, Austria and Serbia. Austria plus 110, Serbia plus 230, draw plus 210. Austria is on fire. I'm taking them at plus 110. Portugal, Finland. Portugal minus 900, Finland 15-1. The draw is plus 650. Finland hasn't been bad, so the draw at plus 650 is enticing, but I don't want to go there. I'm going to go over 3.5 goals at plus 106. Rep Ireland and Hungary. Hungary plus 150, Ireland plus 180, draw plus 195. I'm going to go with Hungary at plus 150. And 3 o'clock, Italy, Turkey. Italy minus 10, Turkey plus 550, draw plus 280. I'm going to go under 2.5 goals at minus 104. 8 o'clock, you have Accountable Libertor. Huacapato and Hermenio. I don't have a line for that up. And that's really it for notable soccer today. Now move on to the WNBA. Look at the slate for tonight. We did not have any games last night. Tonight at 7 o'clock at MNMT, Commissioner's Cup, Mystic Sun. Talk about an early season mismatch. The Sun are giving 13 total 152.5. I'm going to take the over, but I don't feel good about it. 8 o'clock NBA TV, Liberty Sky, Commissioner's Cup. The Liberty are giving 7.5 total 165. I'm taking the Chicago Sky plus the points. I think Teresa Witherspoon might be a little motivated to coach against her former team. Angel Reese will play well. I ain't taking Chicago in the points. I would sprinkle plus 272 because I don't think the Liberty would lock to win this game by any stretch of the imagination. And then 10 o'clock on CBS Sports Arc, you have the Mercury and the Storm, also a Commissioner's Cup game. Liberty Sky is also a Commissioner's Cup. So Mercury Storm. Storm are giving 8 total 166.5. I'm going to take the Mercury getting the 8. If the Mercury can hang around and potentially win a game outright in Vegas, then they can hang around led by Kalia Cooper in Seattle. So I'm going to take the Mercury getting the 8. I'm not calling for an outright upset here, but I think I would sprinkle plus 270. I would sprinkle the 2 money lines in Chicago and Phoenix tonight, and maybe a round robin with any baseball underdogs I like. I kind of like Oakland tonight against the Mariners. I gave them out, and then I wanted to give out the Red Sox against Atlanta because I just want to fade Atlanta with the injuries, but so maybe that'd be a good round robin option. All right, the French Open. We'll go over the results from yesterday and then look ahead a little bit to later today. We'll start in the men's. 4-seed Alexander Zverev over 13th seed Holger Rune in 5 sets. 7-seed Casper Ruud over 12-seed Taylor Fritz in 4 sets. 1-seed Novak Djokovic over 23-seed Francisco Cerundolo in 5 sets. That's crazy. The Joker had a little bit of a sweat there. And 11-seed Alex de Minaur upsets 5-seed Daniil Medvedev in 4 sets. Going on right now as we speak, 10-seed Grigor Dimitrov and 2-seed Jannik Sinner. So Sinner won the first match. Dimitrov won the second. My pick for next was Sinner in 5 sets. And then 2:15 to quarterfinal, 9-seed Stefanos Tsitsipas and 3-seed Carlos Alcaraz. My pick for this one is Alcaraz 4. That's plus 250. We have 2 more quarterfinals tomorrow. Zverev, de Minaur, and Djokovic Ruud. We'll preview and pick those on the podcast tomorrow. All right, the women's fourth round from yesterday. Mira Andreeva over Varvara Gracheva in 2. 2-seed Arena Sablenka over 22-seed Emma Navarro in 2. 12-seed Jasmine Piolini over Alina Avansayan in 3. 4-seed Elena Rybakina over 15-seed Alina Svitolina in 2. And in 2 finals in the quarterfinal, 1-seed Iga Swiatek over 5-seed Marketa Vondrousova in 2. And 3-seed Coco Gauff over 8-seed Ons Jabeur in 3. We'll pick the other 2 quarterfinal games or matches on tomorrow's show. I had Swiatek in 2 and Coco in 3, so I was right with both of those. All right, now we're going to do biggest MLB regrets over the past decade. We did this with the NFL on yesterday's show. Today we're going to do it in baseball. We're going to do the NBA on Wednesday. And hockey I might wait until Monday to do because I want to do some mock drafts. With some drafts coming up, I'll start my mock drafts in the NBA and the NHL. Then we'll do NHL regrets on Monday. So, without further ado, here we go. And by the way, I was going to do this in power rankings form, but that's just a lot of time. We'll do ABC order. The Arizona Diamondbacks. And by the way, this is summer of 2014 on. So pretty much the 2014 draft on. So Arizona Diamondbacks signing Madison Bumgarner. Just an awful free agent signing from the get-go. Probably should have never left San Francisco, or maybe the Giants should have traded him, but he was just a terrible fit with the Diamondbacks, and they pretty much had to eat his contract. The Atlanta Braves. All right, this is controversial. They haven't won anything since this player walked away in free agency. But granted, neither has the team that signed him. Letting Freddie Freeman walk. It's Freddie Freeman. And I think he's a better player than Matt Olson. They gave up a lot to get Matt Olson, including that young catcher Shea Langoliers on the Athletics, who might be an all-star someday. If the Braves win a title, I'll eat my crow. The Braves haven't won a title. Granted, bad luck and whatnot. But I think they gave up a lot for Matt Olson. And they should have just signed Freddie Freeman instead and keep all those prospects and trade that for pitching of some sort. The Baltimore Orioles re-signing Chris Davis. That went down as one of the worst contracts ever. Probably the worst contract in Orioles history. And he had that awesome year, and then he went like months without a home run. The Boston Red Sox is the easiest one on the board. Trading Mookie Betts. I mean, that is the dumbest thing any team could have done, arguably in professional sports. And this was probably the easiest one on the board, not just in baseball, but in all of sports. Like, can you think of an easier regret for anybody? It's Mookie freaking Betts. The Red Sox haven't won shit since he left. They haven't made the play. Actually, they did make the ALCS once since he got traded, but that was a weird one. And there's some Ewing theory stuff with Mookie Betts that one year because they made the ALCS and beat an overrated Yankees team, and then they beat another team that proved to be a little overrated. Who was it? Oh, the Rays. The AL East that year was just overrated. Obviously, the O's stunk that year. The Jays were the most overrated team in that division by a long shot over the past half decade. And the Sox took advantage of a weak Yankee team and a weaker not a weak Rays team, but a Rays team that was won the division but proved to be overrated because they lost them in the playoffs. So that was a little bit of a Ewing theory for Mookie Betts for a little bit, but trading him was still a mistake. The Chicago Cubs. The Eloy Jimenez, Jose Quintana trade. Jose Quintana really didn't work out for them. Jimenez, despite all the injuries, has been a hit with the White Sox, so not ideal. They could have gotten something more for Jimenez, but that trade just in general was a double loss. This is the other easiest one on the board. The Chicago White Sox trading Fernando Tatis Jr. for James Shields. There's an alternate universe where Tatis is on the White Sox, and we're talking about them being a perennial contender because of him. Like the Yankees are a perennial contender because they have Aaron Judge. The Red Sox were a perennial contender when they had Mookie Betts, but they traded him. The Dodgers are a perennial contender because they have all their stars. But yeah, that's what the White Sox would have been. And I know they were decent for a couple years recently, but that turned out to be a complete flop, and then they went to a rebuilding phase. But imagine having Tatis with Jose Abreu in his prime. Imagine if Tatis was on those teams that had success. The Cincinnati Reds not getting enough for Aroldis Chapman. Obviously, that suspension was a big deal, and they probably should have traded him sooner when the team was bad. Like maybe at the 2014 trade deadline, they could have traded him. Or the 2015 trade deadline. He had more value than when he did when they traded him to the Yankees. Meanwhile, he had more value when the Yankees traded him in 2016 than he did with the Reds when the Reds traded him to the Yankees. So, they didn't get enough for all the Chapman from the Yankees. So, they could have gotten more. The Cleveland Guardians. I almost picked this for the Reds, too, because they were involved here. But for me, the Guardians, it's the Trevor Bauer trade. They on paper, they looked like they got a lot back, but nothing really hit. I know Logan Allen has like a 5 ERA. I know that looked good for a little bit, but they could have gotten a lot more for Trevor Bauer if they did that sooner. The Colorado Rockies not getting enough for Nolan Arenado. The Cardinals really stole him off the street when they got him, but they should have traded Arenado sooner, I think. The Detroit Tigers, the Javier Baez signing. That's just a freaking disaster. He's hitting under 200, I think. And he hasn't been the same player for a long time now. And there's a couple other ones for Detroit. The JD Martinez trade to Arizona, they didn't get enough back. But yeah, this one was the worst. The Houston Astros trading away Josh Hader in the Carlos Gomez deal to the Brewers. The O's had Josh Hader too, but that was before 2014. But imagine if the Astros had Josh Hader in those runs that they had. Maybe they would have been like more of the Golden State Warriors than they were perceived to be. The Kansas City Royals, the Asa Lacy pick. Yeah, there's a couple teams I put draft picks in. I understand it was 2020, the COVID year, but I don't think that should be an excuse anymore. I think we have moved past that for being excuses because some teams hit on players in that draft. And that's not fair to those teams that hit on the players in that draft. They did their homework. They passed on Emerson Hancock of the Mariners, who is in their rotation right now. And this season hasn't been good for him, but He's showed a ton of promise. He's been in the big leagues before Asa Lacy. Garrett Crochet, they passed on. He's in the big leagues. Reed Detmers is in the big leagues. They passed on him. Robert Hassel's a really good prospect. Granted, he's with the Nationals now, but they used him to get Juan Soto. Patrick Bailey. Pete Crow Armstrong's in here. But yeah, they passed on a lot of different guys. Austin Wells, who's on the Yankees. Bobby Miller, who's on the Dodgers. The Los Angeles Angels, the Anthony Rendon signing. He's been a disaster. He's always injured. He hasn't been the same player since he left the Nationals. The Los Angeles Dodgers, trading Yordan Alvarez for Josh Fields. If they didn't win the COVID bubble title, we'd be talking about the Yordan Alvarez for Josh Fields as if it was the Trey Lance pick. Like the one singular thing that cost the team a championship. We're going to have a team when we do the NBA tomorrow that I think one singular move cost this particular team a championship, but we'll save it for that. But we'll put it this way. I think this trade cost the Dodgers championships. But they did win one, but they would have won multiple if Yordan was on the team, I think. Granted, some will say, oh, bullpen. But they haven't hit in the playoffs either. People ignore that. The Miami Marlins trading Josh Naylor. Josh Naylor turned into a pretty good player. Imagine if they still had him. The Milwaukee Brewers, the Corey Ray picks. This was 2015. Corey Ray turned out to be one of the bigger draft busts over the past decade. Top 5 pick. I believe he was the 5th overall pick. Or no, it wasn't in 15. It must have been in 16 or 17 then. He was the 5th pick in 2016. All right, following players they passed on. AJ Puke, Cal Quantrill, Josh Lowe, Alex Kirilloff, Gavin Lux, Cole Reagans, Will Smith, Brian Reynolds, granted later round, Pete Alonso, Bo Bichette, but almost every team has done these guys. Sean Murphy, Austin Hayes, Zach Gallen. Ooh. That's another pretty big regret for that particular team. Corbin Burns, Shane Bieber, Tony Gonsolin, Santiago Espinal. But yeah, they missed on. There's a lot of guys in that draft that the Brewers passed on, but Corey Ray was a bust. Minnesota Twins, the Luis Arraez trade. I know the Marlins traded Luis Arraez again, and I know Luis Arraez is not a good defensive player, but he's a hitting machine, and they traded him away for a guy with a 4.5 ERA right now in Pablo Lopez. That hurts. The New York Mets, the Francisco Lindor trade. He's just been a joke this year, Francisco Lindor. And the two guys they traded away for him have helped the Guardians in a major way the past several years. So, 228 with 9 homers, 30 RBI, OPS of 693. Meanwhile, Andres Jimenez this year, 276, 4 homers, 33 RBI, OPS is 719. And Ahmed Rosario, who's now on the Rays, 293, 2 homers, 20 RBI, 305 on base, 719 OPS. So, the two guys they traded for Lindor have been better than Lindor this year. And listen, I was pro Lindor trade, but he's been terrible. And he's been a very disappointing Met. So, got to admit defeat on that one. The New York Yankees, the Aaron Hicks extension. Listen, the Yankees, our team has made a lot of mistakes too, like the Mets, like the Red Sox. And to me, extending Aaron Hicks was just a huge mistake. They had to designate him for assignment. They admitted defeat on it. But that hamstrung them in so many ways. And maybe things would have been better last year if Aaron Hicks wasn't on the roster for 2 months of the season. But yeah, they should have been more creative and found the judge in center field thing sooner. The Oakland Athletics, not getting enough in a trade for Matt Chapman. They did not do good in that Matt Chapman trade to Toronto at all. They could have gotten another offer from another team that gotten better value, I think. The Philadelphia Phillies, the Cornelius Randolph pick. So this was 2015. He was a huge bust. He was picked 11th. Granted, guys picked before him were Dansby Swanson, Alex Bregman, Brendan Rodgers, Dylan Tate, Kyle Tucker, Andrew Benintendi, and Ian Happ. Guys picked ahead of him who Philly could have had Josh Naylor, Colby Allard, Tyler Stevenson, Trent Grisham, Walker Buehler's the big one, obviously. Michael Soroka. Okay, Brian Hayes. Ryan Mountcastle. Austin Riley. Tristan McKenzie. So those are guys picked after Cornelius Randolph. The Pittsburgh Pirates, the Chris Archer trade. That was really bad. Giving up Austin Meadows, who played well for the Rays for a little bit there. And they also gave up Shane Baz, who pitched well at times, and obviously Tyler Glasnow, who's now in the Dodgers. And Chris Archer was a bust with Pittsburgh. St. Louis Cardinals, the Nick Plummer pick. So same draft as Cornelius Randolph. But they were a pick away from Walker Buehler. They could have just took Walker Buehler. And that franchise would have been different, and the Dodgers would have been a lot different too. The San Diego Padres, the Matt Kemp trade. That was a bad trade. And Matt Kemp was a bust with the Padres. San Francisco Giants. Not blowing up the core sooner, the old core. They were too much living in the past because they won the 3 titles. Meanwhile, if it's time to reboot, it's time to reboot. And they should have rebooted in 2018. But they still pretended like they were in contention. They should have traded Madison Bumgarner. They should have traded Brandon Crawford. The Phillies made this same mistake too with the 2008 group and keeping that group too long. The Seattle Mariners not re-signing Teoscar Hernandez. I know this isn't recent one, but their pitching's outstanding and their offense has not been good. Meanwhile, if they still had Teoscar Hernandez, maybe they'd be more of a threat to win the World Series this year. The Tampa Bay Rays, the Brendan McKay pick. Brendan McKay was a bust. The Rays have barely made mistakes, but this was one of their few mistakes. They picked him 4th overall. And guys they could have had: Trevor Rogers, Shane Baz, who ironically they traded for, Clark Schmidt, who's hurt on the Yankees right now, but been really good for them. Was good for them up until the injury this year. DL Hall, who's on the Brewers. Tanner Houck, who's a really good pitcher on Boston. Brent Rooker, who was an all-star. MJ Melendez, who's a good player on the Royals. Now we're going later rounds. Mark Vientos, who's made himself out to be a good player this year on the Mets. Dalton Varsho on the Blue Jays. So, yeah, they missed out on a lot of good players there as well. Texas Rangers, they have a couple of them, but to me the one that stands out the most is trading away Emmanuel Clase for Corey Kluber. I get it. The Rangers won a World Series, but they didn't win one with Kluber. And trading away Clase is going to hurt them. It even hurt them in their run this year, or last year. But they got away with the bullpen. And imagine if they had Clase and how different we'd be talking about the Rangers. And on the flip side, the Guardians, where would they be without Clase? The Toronto Blue Jays, the Matt Chapman trade. It's funny that Matt Chapman's in this twice. Matt Chapman just didn't work out on Toronto. That's why I picked that. And the Washington Nationals not trading away Victor Robles when he had value. Teams love the prospect hug, and I criticize the Yankees for this a lot. I think the Dodgers prospect hug too much. I think the Braves in some degree have, although those two teams I just mentioned won. Meanwhile, Washington prospect hugged Victor Robles, and he turned out to be one of the bigger busts over the past decade in terms of highly touted prospects. And they could have traded him in 2016 when they still had Bryce Harper and could have went for it and say, my big what if is if Juan Soto was on the table for Andrew Miller or Aroldis Chapman in 2016 for the Yankees. But granted, we didn't know Juan Soto was going to be this good yet, but Robles could have been too, and Robles was the guy that everybody wanted at the time. But now looking back, they probably should have traded him rather than kept him. So there you have it. Biggest baseball regrets over the decade. And tomorrow will be NBA. All right, news and notes. We do have a lot to get to in the notes. Just coming down right now, Padres infielder Tucupita Marchano banned for sports betting violations, and 4 others suspended for a year. So lifetime ban. And then A's righty Michael Kelly 1 year, Padres lefty Jay Groom, Phillies infielder Jose Rodriguez 1 year, and Diamondbacks lefty Andrew Saalfrank 1 year. So a lot of minor leaguers. But the biggest story of yesterday, though, was that Justin Jefferson finally gets his money. 4 years, $110 million guaranteed. $140 million. Highest non-paid quarterback ever. And he deserved it. He's really good. And this is why the Vikings didn't re-sign Kirk Cousins. Because they knew which player was more important to their success, and that's Justin Jefferson. And they knew that they could start new at quarterback and still keep Jefferson in the long run. So good on the Vikings for getting this deal done. And Mbappe's going to Real Madrid. That kind of felt inevitable. And now the UCL champs get better. Teresa Witherspoon actually defended Caitlin Clark, and she calls Kennedy Carter's foul not appropriate. Reese Hoskins was back in Philadelphia yesterday. Bittersweet. He homered. How about this? Spencer Torkelson opted the AAA. My goodness. Not ideal for a former number 1 overall pick. And the Mariners signed Victor Robles. We talked about him a second ago and how big of a bust he was as a prospect. Giants tight end Darren Waller likely to retire. Expected to make a decision by next week. He was a bust with the Giants last year. One of the bigger acquisition busts that I can remember by them. Him and Kenny Galladay. Kenny Galladay would have been a good one for regrets, but to me, doubling down on a quarterback that isn't any good is the worst. C.J. Stroud says he'd rather have Eli Manning's career than Aaron Rodgers' career. That's an interesting take. Keon Anthony, who's the son of Carmelo Anthony, is eyeing 3 schools: Indiana, Auburn, and Ohio State, which is really interesting. An MLS managerial change. The United fire head coach Gonzalo Pineda. And Rob Valentino will take over as the interim. So that's interesting. We'll see how that goes. A Tua extension is expected this summer, so we'll see how that gets done. The Pelicans are unlikely to offer Brandon Ingram 4 years, $208 million extension. Not ideal. The Lakers and the Cavaliers are interested in Mika Nori for head coach vacancies. Obviously, Nori did a good job filling in for Chris Finch in the playoffs. LSU commit Bryce Underwood is not worried about NIL. He says, my main goal is the NFL first draft pick. Jose Urquidy may need his second Tommy John surgery as he is ceasing surgery after being pulled from rehab start last week. Not ideal for Houston. They might be having the year from hell. And maybe my trade that I proposed could happen. A Kobe Bryant jersey sells for $1.2 million as it's the uniform he wore when he tore his Achilles in 2013. That's crazy. Kyrie Irving talks about his Celtics past as he admits middle finger incident in Boston wasn't a great reflection on my end. Of course it wasn't. And he was a disappointment in Boston. And now he's been amazing in Dallas. Former lottery pick Jabari Parker tears up when he was asked about first year playing aboard. Caitlin Clark won the Rookie of the Month, 17.6 points, 6.6 assists, and 5.1 rebounds in the month of May. Angel Reese talks about embracing the bad guy role and wants credit for the rise of women's basketball. I mean, it's hard to get that when you're in the same draft class as Caitlin Clark. I mean, you'll be talked about, but not as much as her. So, there you have it for news and notes. Last but not least, my best bet of the day brought to you by FanDuel. So yesterday I had given out the Reds-Rockies under, and that did not work out. Obviously, the Reds went over the total by themselves. But there's another total sitting there that makes a lot of sense. And it's just a must play. Oh, the over's at minus 124 now. So that over went up. So instead, I'm going to go with the under in the White Sox Cubs. I think Imanaga bounces back. I don't know if the Cubs are good enough to score 9 by themselves against the White Sox. So I'm going to go under 9, minus 106 between the White Sox and the Cubs for my best bet of the day. So there you have it for the show. I'll be back tomorrow recapping everything and looking ahead to everything tomorrow as well as NBA big regrets. Hope you guys have a great day, everyone.